the traditional bouquet, presented one by the secretary of the club, Major David Mills, and the other by the referee, Captain Mike Gibson. And they've just made their curtsy to the royal box, as you saw. And so Billie Jean, of course, who is about to attempt to create a post-war record, her fifth Wimbledon final, and Chrissy Evert in her second Wimbledon ever, having last year played a great semi-final with Yvonne Goolagong. Here she is playing in the final. Anne. Well, here we are, and Mike Gibson with them, as you see. And at this moment, Anne, I'm sure this is something that you've experienced many times before.
Yes, Dan, they must be feeling really marvellous out there now. Their stomachs are turning over, I'm quite sure, with all the butterflies and pre-match nerves. But I'm sure once they get out there and start hitting a few balls, that this tension will all go away and they'll commence to play some wonderful tennis. Chris Evert, her first time on the final, be a wonderful occasion for her. She's played marvellous tennis in the semi-final, and I'm sure she's going to produce some of her magnificent ground strokes today. They're just spinning the racket to decide who's going to serve. It looks as though Billie Jean is selecting an end. Billie Jean King's been in this position so many times before. I'm sure she'll settle down far more quickly than Chris Evert. Concentrating very, very hard just at the moment. I'm sure most tennis players, like most tennis players, once she starts to do the thing that she's trained for, which is to play tennis, she'll settle down and feel much happier.
Well, Anne, we're just waiting while you've been talking. I've just been looking at the scoreboard, but they haven't indicated yet who is going to serve. The little red dots haven't come up yet. And I would think in this match it's rather important who serves first. Ah, there they are. It's Chris Evert who's going to serve. And very quickly, just to go through the details of Chris Evert again. She's seeded number 4. She's 18 years of age, comes from Fort Lauderdale in Florida, making her first appearance at Wimbledon. Last year, she reached the semi-final, beaten by Miss Goolagong, the holder, in an absorbing 3-set match. And on her first visit to the continent a few weeks ago, she lost a classic final in the French Championships to Margaret Court. And immediately following, she lost in the final of the Italian Championships to Yvonne Goolagong. Well, now, will she prove successful in her third successive major final? The third, by the way, in 5 weeks. But this on grass, a surface which technically it shouldn't suit her player as much as the slower speed of hard courts, on which, of course, her game was founded in Fort Lauderdale. But when we think back how well she played on, well, against Margaret Court in the semi-final, who says that she isn't now fully used to grass? Over to the holder of the title, but this year seeded number 2, 29 years of age, beat Miss Goolagong in the final last year 6-3, 6-3. She had a hat-trick of wins in 1966, 67 and 68. And as I've already said, if she's successful today, then it really will be a wonderful post-war record of 5 singles titles. But she's still some 3 short of her fellow countrywoman, Mrs. Helen Wills Moody, who had an all-time record, or who has an all-time record of 8. I think it's important that we remember that early in the year, Billie Jean King was the victim of illness and injury, which resulted in somewhat inconsistent results for quite some time afterwards. Now, this, coupled with her intense efforts to form a women's tennis association, may, and I emphasize may, have robbed her game of some of its former authority. She's also the holder, by the way, of the ladies doubles with Betty Stover of the Netherlands, in which she's number 1 seed, and she's also the holder of the ladies doubles, and she's in the quarterfinal of the mixed with Owen Davidson. So that is quite something for one of the all-time greats, Billie Jean King.
Billie Jean King, she was talking to me last night, and she's very, very keen to win this singles for the 5th time and set up this record, and also to win the Triple Crown, including the doubles and the mixed. Because she has such a large program, I thought maybe she'd consider pulling out of the mixed doubles to concentrate on the singles and the doubles, but she told me that she has every intention of playing the mixed doubles as well. That's a heavy program with a possibility of 6 matches. Sure, she's not thinking about that just at the moment. She's thinking about the speed of the court to see whether it's any different from the semi-finals. After the rain, it always tends to slow the court down, and I'm sure she's trying now to feel out the court, giving Chris Evert some lobs. Chris can get her shoulder warmed up.
And at this moment, we again have the very greatest pleasure in giving a welcome to Australian viewers who've joined us via satellite, and this time we're delighted to say the weather is excellent. And that's his voice, Bertie Byron, an umpire with experience all over the world.
Miss Evert to serve. First set. Play. Love, 15. Love, 30. Love, 40.
Billie Jean making an unusual forehand slice from the back court and making her first error down there.
Game, this is game. First game.
So Billie Jean King away to a very happy start indeed, breaking the service and breaking it to 15. Interesting, the second point there was a 9-stroke rally, and it looked as though Billie Jean was taking the chance of rallying for some length of time, which would have given her, and did in fact, we thought, give her opponent a chance of getting the feel of the ball and the length and range of shot. But rather unusual number of errors there from Chrissy Evert, who is right out on court straight away. And a good hand for the holder of the title as she comes back to take up the service.
Mrs. King to serve. Love, 15.
Well judged.
15 all.
Now, walking.
Could you ask him to please turn the light out? You see that TV light? It's off now.
Maybe have the light out, please, up there. TV, thank you.
That's extraordinary. Light up in the centre court. No, it's 15 all.
$15, 30. 30 all.
Missed out.
40, 30.
And that attempt at a forehand pass out on the 14th stroke of the rally.
Game. Game to Mrs. King. 2 games to love. First set, Mrs. King leads.
And Mrs. King playing with great authority here at the moment.
Love.
And if Miss Evert can find that deep forehand corner of Mrs. King's, that's the vulnerable place, if she can find it. Oh, that's a lucky one.
15 all.
Well, Margaret Court tried the drop shot occasionally against Chrissy Evert, and at times it was successful. On balance, I'm not sure that it paid her. And God's smiling at the moment on Billie Jean.
40.
Well, 2 smashes. The champion is put out of court. Unusual for her. 2 misses out of 2.
Deuce. Advantage, Mrs. King.
And Mrs. King getting the benefit there, rather a dead bounce, as Chrissy Evert shaped up to the forehand. The ball didn't come through, it died on her a bit.
Game to Mrs. King. Up.
And everything running for Billie Jean at the moment.
Love. 40, love. Forty, 15. First service. Up. 40, 30.
Sympathetic hand for the younger player.
Game. Game to Mrs. King. 4 games to love. Mrs. King leads.
So the younger generation not looking at the moment as though it's going to overtake the older.
First service. Love, 15.
The first double fault of the match.
Love, 30. Love, 40.
It's called out.
To Mrs. King. Love.
I think that typifies the quality of Mrs. King's game. Just out.
30, love.
Well, against Margaret Court, all her lobs, all Chris Evert's lobs, were finding the court and just inside the baseline at that. So she may get her touch yet.
Thirty, 15. Forty, 15.
And that well-placed service gives Billie Jean King 2 set points.
Game and first set to Mrs. King by 6 games to love.
Millions have lost weight on the South Beach diet, and now
Love 15. Love 30. Fifteen, 30. What? 50, 40.
So a double fault from Miss Evert, and we don't usually expect to see her serving rather loose doubles like that. That was rather a tentative second service.
Game. 3 balls, please. Game to Mrs. King. First game, second set.
And from Chris Evert's point of view, that was a very, very bad game indeed. She had the first set and lost it love 6, and she really needed to make an impression at the start of the second set to gain some semblance of confidence. The pressure for a baseliner without a very good serve on grass is tremendous. You know that when you're facing Billie Jean King, that 9 times out of 10 she's going to serve well and win her own delivery. So the pressure is on you to produce some really good services and try and do a little more with the ball. But Chris Evert at the moment is so lacking in confidence, she doesn't seem to be able to do anything, and nothing seems to be working for her. She has to make a really big effort here to try and get into this second set.
Mrs. King to serve.
Serving with new balls.
Uh, 15, love. $30, love. Love.
And perhaps there we saw the slight nervousness of the younger player. She didn't really go for a two-handed winner as she has been through the championship so far.
Game, Mr. King. Two games to love. Mrs. King leads, second set.
A really extraordinary round of 8 games here for Billie Jean. Has never really had to play a tough rally yet. Now, Can Chrissy Evert really get going with the service game?
Love. First service.
And that's more like the lob.
Love.
That's the shot that's going to worry Mrs. King, if anything does.
Love.
And a really badly timed forehand by Mrs. King there.
To Miss Evert.
Jean serving, 2-1.
Love. Love.
What a pity.
Love.
And really spirited resistance and play there by Chrissy Evert. Ah, the gods have changed.
15.
Really, the girl from Fort Lauderdale, she really did need a break there. First bit of luck that she's really had. Out called.
Forty, 30.
Well out.
Yes.
Love 42 deuce, and the youngster's confidence is growing.
Advantage, Mrs. King.
And Mrs. King quick to take the opportunity to make a winning volley off a rather inhibited forehand there. Just out.
To Mr. King. Three games to one, second set. Mrs. King leads.
Well, there's no question that Chrissy Evert's confidence is growing, but it'll have to grow a great deal if she's going to pull this match out of the fire. 1-3 down, second set having lost the first.
Now 15. What?
Much quicker off the mark, much more speed of foot, and certainly better control of the racket picking up that drop shot.
Thirty, 15. Forty, 15.
Well, that was a loose one from Mrs. King. Surely not citing victory too soon. That really was a loose backhand volley from the champion.
40, 30.
Well played, well played.
Game to Miss Evert. Mrs. King leads in the second set by 3 games to 2.
So what I think we're seeing is the high professional efficiency of Billie Jean. Can it withstand a possible upsurge of youthful enthusiasm and supreme competence?
Now 15.
Baby.
Love. 30.
And what was very unusual about that was that Billie Jean's forehand to Chris Evert was heavily sliced. Now, one doesn't usually at this game slice back a heavily sliced ball, particularly for a drop shot. So a great piece of luck for the younger player.
Second service.
And a slightly nervy second serve too it was.
Love. 40.
Now, are we really beginning to see Chrissy Evert's great effort beginning to disturb Billie Jean? Because that was a very unprofessional drop shot, I can assure you, or attempted one.
Game. Game. To Miss Evert. 3 games all.
And the first break of serve for Miss Evert and a break of serve to Love, and that's a tremendous confidence giver.
Love.
The rhythm and the coordination are almost fully back with Miss Evert now.
Love. First service. Game to Miss Evert.
Time to take care of that unwanted.
Love. 15. All.
Fault called. Billie Jean is surprised. I think a lot of people are, but there was a definite and confident cry from the lady linesman at the back. Fault.
Thirty. 15.
Oh, I say it's over.
Forty. 15.
And really rather a remarkable half volley by Billie Jean, the ball almost behind her.
Game to Mrs. King. 4 games all, second set.
And Mrs. King has stopped the run of 3 games by Chrissy Evert, who came back from 1-3 to lead 4-3. Miss Evert then serving 4-all, second set. Oh, that's a sensational backhand.
Love, 15.
That really was an impudent backhand by the champion. What a winner. Oh, what a winner too.
all.
That's a great drop shot.
30-15.
Nicely disguised. It looked as though she was going to take a bang right into the forehand corner with the forehand drive.
all.
Well, the 4 there in the very dry part of the grass, you can only attribute that to the wrong footing smash from Mrs. King's and a very strong thrust by the youngster to try and retrieve.
Forty, 30. Game. Game to Miss Evert. 5 games to 4. Miss Evert leads second set. Out. all.
High part of the net there. Trapped Mrs. King.
Thirty, 15. Forty, 30. Game. 2 balls, please. Five games all, second set.
And Billie Jean never really seriously threatened there, although taken to 30 on that service game. So with new balls, 5-all, second set. Evert serving.
Love. 15 all.
And that shows how good Billie Jean is. Twice she had to cover the full width of the court and then turn defence into attack.
Thirty, 15. Four.
It was a long ball. It hit the sideline beyond the service line. It's called out.
30 all. Forty, 30.
And good length of drive, getting its due reward there.
Deuce.
That was a fierce rally. May well have a bearing on the match. That's a classic drop shot.
Advantage, Miss Evert.
And a really classic angled drop shot from the two-handed side.
Deuce.
Five all, deuce, second set.
Advantage, Mrs. King. Game
Too much.
to Mrs. King.
Serving for the championship then. 6-5.
Love.
A little bit unlucky.
Love. Love.
So that forehand volley gives Billie Jean 3 points for the championship. It's in.
14-15.
So the volley pass saves 1 championship point. It's out, and there's the championship for Billie Jean.
King.
So in this All-American final, Billie Jean comes through after about 55 minutes play.
7-5.
And the score once again to repeat the umpire 6-love, 7-5. And so Billie Jean achieves a post-war record 5 times, having equaled Louise Bruff's record of 4 times last year. She now comes through, and that's going to be a record, I think, that will take a great deal of beating. Well, Billie Jean showed all the experience in the world, coming out the more settled of the two, as one thought she might at the beginning of the match, and quickly ran into that 6-love first set. And in it, the younger player only got 8 points, and one of them went to deuce, and in that deuce game she got 3 points. So really, there wasn't a great deal of resistance. And then quickly Billie Jean broke the service to take the opening game in the second set, held her own for 2-love, went to a 3-1 lead, and then tremendous resistance and great play by little Chris Evert. 3 games in a row, including a break of service, 4-3, and then she led 5-4, and then Billie Jean came with that fine run, 5-all, 6-5, 7-5. And so there's a champion, if ever there was one. A whole bunch of Wimbledon titles, ladies doubles, mixed doubles, and now the 5th Wimbledon championship. And great performance by Billie Jean.
Yes, a fine tactical performance, Dan. She played the match very, very well indeed. Got on top at the beginning, as one thought she might, and maintained that pressure. I think the crisis for Billie Jean came when she was 4-5 down. At that point, she really had to grit her teeth and dig her toes in and try and regain her supremacy in that second set, because I'm sure the younger player would have been on top in the third.
So the president of the club comes through the Guard of Honor of ball boys, and the Merton Education Committee must be very proud indeed of those boys they've allowed to come here from local schools. And so the traditional scene, traditional scene here, in a very rapidly changing world, this one doesn't change. And so Billie Jean goes forward to take the famous tray for the 5th time, and the president of the club congratulating her, and he's seen in the Royal Box to enjoy the match very thoroughly. And then Herman David, the chairman of the club, and Major Mills, the secretary, all there giving their congratulations. And I'm sure a great cheer for a girl who one day I'm sure will win this championship, Chrissy Evert. Didn't quite fulfill herself until she had that famous run of 3 games in the middle of the second set. But what a good effort for Miss Evert to come through to a final in her 2nd Wimbledon. And Billie Jean here, from now she lives in Los Angeles, 2 girls who know each other's play so well. And until this moment, the younger girl had the lead in their matches of 4-2. But the vital one, the one that really matters, this is Billie Jean. Must be a very happy girl at the age of 29 to take that famous tray with Anne, your name on it.
Yes, Dan, I well remember the day. I'm sure Billie Jean must be feeling very proud at this moment. Showing the tray to the crowd. Silver gilt, a beautiful trophy.
So for a year, Billie Jean will hold that famous challenge trophy, which was presented by the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club competition. And she'll receive a silver replica of it too. And as she displays the trophy, her young opponent will get a silver medal, which is always presented to the runner-up. And Billie Jean being asked to hold it up again a bit higher. And what a crowd of photographers and people around there. And the prize money, £3,000 for Billie Jean. And the runner-up would take £2,000. And the losing semi-finalists, £700 each.
When we go off, I'll take that for you.
And also Billie Jean King will take 100 points in the Commercial Union Assurance Grand Prix, which is controlled by the International Lawn Tennis Federation. And this is a series of tournaments played all around the world for which points are awarded according to the importance of the championship. And so Billie Jean also has that as a bonus. Well, not one of our greatest finals, but a very, very interesting one to see this young player from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, come back. And in 2 Wimbledons, not a bad record. A semi-finalist when she lost her to Miss Goolagong, who in turn lost to Billie Jean in the final, and now this year a finalist. And I am quite convinced that this young lady will come back to Wimbledon and is a very, very likely winner.
It was quite a Wimbledon for Billie Jean King. Besides winning this singles title, the next day she'd win the women's doubles with Rosie Casals and the mixed doubles with Owen Davidson. No one, man or woman, has since won all 3 Wimbledon titles in 1 year. As for Evert, 1973 was only the beginning of an incredible run of 10 trips to the final. And the next year, she'd win the first of her 3 Wimbledon singles titles.